What's up, YouTube? I'm Grayson.
I'm Tyke.
And welcome back to another episode of the ClearCut podcast. Oh, man.
We're gonna upload late this week.
Yeah.
Because it was a holiday on Monday in America. We know that there is 8% of our viewers watching from outside of the States. So
maybe in prison.
Yeah. So on Monday here in the United States, we celebrated Memorial Day. It's just a day to commemorate and to recognize the people who have fallen in war, in the line of duty. So we celebrate here in America, take a day off work, and we just take a day to honor those people.
Yeah, and today's Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
today is Wednesday.
Obviously, no video right now.
Yep.
Question. Mm-hmm. How do you balance... I'm going to start off with your work life and your home life.
Okay.
And then on top of that, how do you balance your spiritual life with my other life?
Yeah. So first, my home life with my work life. It's something that I have had to overcome. It's something I have had to get right because for a really long time, I wouldn't necessarily take work home. But I would go home and talk about work to my wife. Like, I wouldn't go home and work. I would just go home and talk about work. And not only was it hard on her because she can't really understand because she's not where I'm working at, but it was also hard on me because I wasn't getting time with my wife to just talk about things outside of work, talk about life. I was just talking about work. But it has gotten better. You know, that still happens to an extent. Like, my wife is my best friend. I'm going to tell her everything. But it really helped when I started going back to the gym because I could let out any frustration in the gym. And so if I had frustration when I went to work, I would get that out either before I went to work or before I went home. So she didn't have to deal with that. And then that made it to where at home, I could focus on her. I could focus on the things that need to be done at home rather than focusing on things that need to be done at work. And then the second thing, balancing my spiritual life and then everything else, that is also something that has been hard for me to do. We've talked about it before, but society wants to keep us so busy, right? The 40-hour work week. And a lot of times that doesn't ever happen. Like, we're working more than 40 hours. Like right now I'm averaging like 50 hours a week with everything that I do. So whenever you have 50 hours doing your work and then you have to spend time with your wife, right? And then I enjoy my time with my friends, my time with my family. Like I'll call my mom, call my dad. Whenever you get all that done and then you have 8 hours of sleep a day, which is what I need, you find it hard to spend time with God, to spend time in His Word, to spend time in prayer, and to spend time in worship. And that is something that's so overlooked in a lot of Christians' lives. Is they'll read their Bible and they will pray, but outside of the church. Like, they'll worship on Sunday, they may worship on Wednesday at church, but outside of the church, they're not worshiping. And worship is a daily practice that we need to do. It's not something that needs to be reserved for 1 or 2 times a week. The same thing with reading the Word. And like, a lot of people will come in on Sunday, and that's the only place they hear the Word of God. They're not studying it throughout the week. And something that a lot of people need to understand is what they're hearing on Sunday is the way that the pastor is interpreting the Bible. Now, a pastor is supposed to interpret it the way that God is speaking it through His Word. But there are some pastors who don't, who interpret it the way that they think the people need to hear it. They think like the way that people want to hear it. So they take the word out of context and try to make it applicable or more applicable to the people's lives. So that's why reading throughout the week is so important, because then you can interpret it and you can figure out for yourself what God is trying to say rather than hearing it from someone else. So what I had to do for that, to be able to balance it, was make it a priority. I had to make it a priority to make time to read, to make time to be in prayer, to make time to worship. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times when I'm driving, that's my prayer and worship time, because I'm alone. I can be with God, and the people around me may think I'm crazy when I'm like crying in my car or like raising my hands or closing my eyes and I almost run off the road. But like that is time for me to be with God. I'm alone. I have nothing else to focus on.
Yeah, I relate to that in the car for sure when I'm by myself. I think for me, it's changed a lot lately. But let's just look at a year ago, work-life balance. It was more of there was no balance, I don't think.
Right.
I was all in. It was a 1099 position, so I didn't really have hours, which meant it was all the time. It was 24/7. If the phone rang, I had to answer it. If it was a text message, I had to respond, no matter what time it was. And like you said, my wife's my best friend, so who am I going to talk to about work and everything? It was her,
Yep.
and she didn't care, at least to the extent I thought she did. Right. But yeah, there was definitely not much life balance, because if it was like going to hang out somewhere or do something, it was with all these work people. I mean, and of course, our job was talked about the whole time, Yeah.
And if you had, like you said, if you had a phone call, if you had a text, even if you were out with your wife, you would have to answer that.
Yeah. Now looking at spiritual and life, everything together a year ago, I'd say it was pretty hard. We moved and lived in St. Louis for a while, so I wasn't as involved in church. I think we still came pretty much every single Sunday. We drove down to come and then drove back up.
Yeah, because you were mixing.
I was still doing sound.
Yep.
Just not as, I would miss practice usually and then run it on the weekend. But now, I think it's all a lot different. Work life, don't really have that. I mean, I consider what I do here work. It's just internship, but it's work. But spiritual life and everything, it's been really hard to just sit down and do my own thing. Because it's like, okay, when I am home, I want to relieve my wife of the baby, or just chill because we have a baby and she's sleeping, and it's just like, okay, I just want to lay here. So that's been very hard lately, just getting deeper into the word and things like that. But, prayer life, everything, like you said, is pretty much the same way, like in the car. And I'm in the car a lot, it seems like, and I'm in the car alone a lot. So that's usually, a worship time for me. Going to the gym has helped. I can say that. I think I get in my own head and ball up every single emotion.
Yep.
So letting it out in that way, I think, has been an improvement. I think I'm still really short with people, though, like if I'm in a bad mood. And that's something that's really difficult. So like if I'm in a bad mood, the person that's going to take the heat is my wife.
Yeah.
Even though she might not have nothing to do with it.
Right.
And she might think like, oh my God, he's really mad at me. And it's like, no, just this has been my day to day.
Yeah.
And I finally get to sit here and do nothing. And then you say 6 words and I'll blow up just because you're the person here. That's hard to balance.
Yeah.
Stress and marriage.
Yeah.
Not even if it's correlated, right? Yeah. Like not even if you're stressed out at your wife or family, anything like that. They're always the person that takes the brunt of it. And I think the roles are reversed as well. Like if Hannah has a bad day with the baby or something, and then I walk in the door and I'm all in a good mood, happy, cheery, and she's not, and I'm just like, what's your problem?
Right.
It's like, well, she's not ready to be happy yet. I heard that a while back. I'd have no idea where from, but just because you're ready to sit there and hang out doesn't mean they are.
Yep.
right? Like just because I put my phone down, I'm ready to hang out with my wife, it doesn't mean she's ready to put her phone down and hang out with me, right? Just because I thought it was good timing doesn't mean she thought it was good timing.
Yeah. And I know that the season that you're in, you know, like you still have a semester left to the internship.
Yep.
So you are doing a lot of things, and you're not working right now. So you're doing a lot of things for free.
Yeah.
And so I was in that situation 2 years ago, and so you see all of the bad things that go on, and you try to fix them, or you're doing things to try to fix them, but you're not getting any reward right now.
Right.
And so I know like a ton of frustration can come from that, because you're doing so much stuff, but you don't feel appreciated. That's how I felt for so long.
Yeah. It's been really weird. Just the whole process has been really weird, right? Like, boom, you're 21, 22, and you just made $250,000 in 365 days. Day 366, or you could just, I guess, say day one, like of the next year, you have zero. Not have zero, but you're making zero. So you went from the best year financially of your life to completely the worst, which I guess is a decision. I mean, obviously it's a decision I made. I left that job for numerous reasons, but you know, I could go get another job, but I think that takes obedience for sure.
Yes.
Like anybody could just go get a job and make ends meet. Like I could go work at Burger King tomorrow night if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But that doesn't show any obedience or trust in God.
Yep.
And I'm not saying go quit your job and do absolutely nothing, and God's just going to provide. But I think with the steps that I've taken and trying to do and fulfill my calling, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I mean, God has definitely taken care of us and blessed us in numerous ways. It's pretty weird.
Yeah. I know so many people miss their callings because they don't have that mindset.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people all the time like, man, I'd love to do an internship, but I have, you know, a full-time job. And I'm like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
You know? Now, I'm not saying everybody's called to ministry and everybody's supposed to do it. I don't know what the turning point is to know, okay, I'm supposed to go to ministry. I think the first thing is you have to fall in love with serving.
Yep.
Which I think you and I both kind of were in the same boat with that. Like, I just loved being here.
Yeah.
I loved having a hand in something. Let's like, look at these, like when I'm running sound in the very back of the room and people raise their hands, it's like I have a hand in that, and that's unbelievable. So when people don't move, it's like, wow, I suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. Pastor Darren, he'll say one of the main indicators that someone should be leading worship is if they move people. And there are just some songs that do not move people. It may not even be the person leading the song.
Yeah.
It may be like the lyrics, or it may just be the room. Like the room is just dead and nothing happens. And I'm like, I question myself. I'm like, dang, should I be doing this? But then again, I think about like fulfilling my calling. Like God is calling me to this. And you said something really interesting, that some people may not be called to ministry. And I'm going to counter that and say that everyone's called to ministry because of the Great Commission. It's just that some people's
ministry might be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all called to minister the gospel, regardless of what you're doing in life, regardless of where God has you at. You're called to minister the gospel. You may just not be called to go work in a church. And some people get so confused because they think that is ministry. Right. Working in a church is working in ministry. No. There are people in other countries that are not getting paid to do a single thing, but they are ministering the gospel because that's where God has called them to. We miss our calling because we're not in relation with God. And so we don't hear what our calling is. We don't feel in our heart what our calling is.
Yeah. Since we were talking on balance and we're getting a little bit off balance, I'm just going to go back to a couple of these verses before we end up on something totally different. So balance in life, Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1 through 8 says, it's kind of repetitive, so I'm going to kind of skip some of the words. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and to pluck up what is planted, time to kill and to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, time to weep and to laugh, to mourn and to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I think that those verses right there, I think they're talking about seasons. Like there are seasons for this, there are seasons for that. And I understand there are going to be busy seasons in our lives, right? The one that I caught on to was picking up stones or throwing stones. And yes, there are going to be busy seasons where we're having to pick up stones over and over and over again so we can get to the point where we are throwing the stones. But even in those busy seasons, right, we have to have balance. We have to we have to make sure that even though we're picking up stones all day, that we spend some time with God. Bless you.
Yeah. Do you have the other verse pulled up,
Yep.
or you want me to
So
read
I've got Proverbs 11. I'm going to read verse 1. It just says, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight in his delight. So a false balance, again, when your balance is leaning more towards the world than it is God, right? In reality, if this is the world, this is God. Or I'm sorry, this is the world, this is God. If this is an off balance, right? We need God like here.
Mm-hmm.
Like God has to be more balanced. We have to have more of God than the world.
How do you balance things you watch?
Ooh, that is good. Because
I know it's very different for everybody, Christian or not. So
Taylor and I don't watch very many movies, but if we do, we will try to not watch a rated R movie. Right? There are some times where we don't even check, and then we like get done with the movie and we're like, "Oh crap, that was rated R."
Mm-hmm.
But we try not to because of the things in rated R movies are wrong. Like if they are cussing, if there is a nude scene in that, right? We should not be putting that before our eyes. But I think the biggest thing right now, like the most time we spend on a visual thing is, for her it's TikTok, and for me it's YouTube. And there are some times where something will come across my YouTube shorts and I'm like, what in the world did I just watch? Like how did this come on my feed?
Right.
But in those moments, you just got to swipe. You can't let a provocative short catch your attention.
Yeah.
A girl saying provocative things, a boy saying provocative things. And I think a lot of times it's the things that I swipe on more are political things.
Yeah.
Because I do not care about politics.
I do not care about your Bud Light.
No.
I do not care about your Target.
Yep.
Like I don't care.
Yeah.
If I need something from Target, I'm gonna go buy it from Target.
Yep.
If I'm thirsty, I'm not gonna go grab a Bud Light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many people like they're so focused on politics, and then their focus on politics is a lot more than their focus on God.
And then they're like so shocked that these companies do this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, one, a beer isn't religious, so why is that surprising? Mm-hmm. And two, I don't think anyone thought Target was a Christian company, so I don't know why they're surprised there either. Yeah. Now, if like, what's a Christian company?
Hobby Lobby.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did not know that. That's cool. A Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Like if Chick-fil-A were to open on Sundays, then there'd be a riot.
Yeah, but that kind of like makes sense. It goes against everything Chick-fil-A stands for, you know? Yeah. So like, okay. That'd be nice. If it opened on Sundays though, I'm probably going.
Yeah, I'd probably go too. Taylor always wants. It is so funny.
Sunday morning.
For like a year, we would be in Cape on Sundays, and I would joke with her and be like, let's go Chick-fil-A for lunch. Or let's go Chick-fil-A for dinner. She's like, okay.
Sounds great.
And we drive there. we drive on Williams. And
it's like Wibbs. Wibbs. If only people that are local would know what that is, but I usually want it on a Monday. Mm-hmm. Or is it closed Sunday, Monday?
Yeah, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, I want it on Mondays all the time.
Yeah.
And it's never open. There's a few places like that. Whatever.
Yep.
You have anything else on balance? I
did at one point.
Oh, cool.
But yeah.
Might have to pop it in a short.
Maybe.
I
want you guys to know, you viewers, I want you to know that we're not professionals.
No.
And I think the reason I can say that today is because this light just died up here.
Really?
Yeah. It died a long
It's-
time
It
ago.
said we had an hour
Yeah, I know.
and 20 minutes.
I don't want to claim to be a professional in anything, because this right here, we're just using our life,
Yeah.
life examples to try and help you guys figure out life, because it's hard. Figuring out life on your own, especially, is like super hard. And so we're just trying to give you guys resources on how to try to figure it out. We don't have it all together.
Yeah.
We probably don't even have half of it together, but we have some of it together. We're trying to give you guys some of that.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't imagine if I would have went off to college somewhere and I was just like, this was my life, but somewhere else, and I didn't really have family or a wife around or anything. It was just like, I'm going home by myself at night.
Yep.
That's a lot to take home with you.
That's it.
You know,
That's it. That's what I had. Community.
community.
Community is one of the most important things in balancing
Yeah.
your spiritual life and everything else. Because when you have people around you, you can talk with them about the things you're struggling with. You can pray with them about the things you're struggling with. You can talk to them about the joys, the praises that you have, the praise reports that you have of what God has done in your life.
Yeah.
But when you're alone and you only have yourself, you can only talk to yourself. Now, yes, you have God in those moments, but God never called anyone to do anything alone.
Yeah. And I also think that just puts you in your head a lot.
Yep.
And that just gives, Satan the perfect opportunity just to do whatever he does,
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Well, that's all I got for you.
Yep.
Until next week.
Until next week.
See y'all. Like, subscribe, comment if you really want to.
Yeah.
You can say hi.
Yeah. Share the video. Share
Yeah.
on all platforms. We're only on YouTube, but you can share the link on everything. And the more people that see this, the more people that you guys and us are helping.
Indeed.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.